The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Let this flag stay with you, ladies and gentlemen. This flag is a symbol of our victory in this war. We stand, we fight, and we will win because we are united. Ukraine, America, and the entire free world.
That's the sound of a joint session of Congress applauding Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy as he handed a battle flag from a critical battle in Ukraine. He handed it to Speaker of the House, outgoing Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and Vice President Kamala Harris. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Today is Thursday. It is December 22nd, 2022. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to cover a bit of that speech, but before I go to Washington, D.C., I also want to bring to our attention everything that's happening in Atlanta, Georgia, where 6 forest defenders have been arrested on domestic terrorism charges. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the story, in the city and the surrounding areas of Atlanta, the Police Foundation, the City of Atlanta Police, DeKalb County, they have come together on a $90 million training facility for police that's going to include a major sound stage that will be utilized by a major production company. We'll talk about that company later. I think that company presents a good opportunity for protest. But this $90 million facility is a giveaway to the police state. And it is coming at the expense not only of Black lives, it's coming at the expense of the city budget and the county budgets. It always comes at the expense of the people. And it comes, quite frankly, as a budget for playthings, for police to get bigger tanks. In this case, they get a helipad where a Black Hawk can land out here in rural area Georgia. This is what they're doing with Cop City. And as a result, people from all over the country have unified and shown up in a brilliant and decentralized way and prevented this city from being built for some time. And what we're seeing right now, I want to play a clip from Democracy Now! With Brother Kamal Franklin of Community Movement Builders, a friend of the show, and we're going to try to speak with him tomorrow about this very issue. But what's going on now is because of the tactics of the forest defenders, construction that was scheduled to begin in May has not begun yet. And now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations has swooped in with a SWAT team. And I have audio from that. Just a trigger warning on the audio. It includes a very, very triggering alarm sound the SWAT team used to startle the forest defenders. Now, these were people who were in trees, and they were in trees and tree houses, and they were encamped there in order to protect the forest from being leveled for the sake of a new playground for the police. Listen to this audio of the SWAT team that went in to arrest these forest defenders who were literally doing nothing at the moment, at that present time, and they arrested them on domestic terrorism charges.
Occupants of the treehouse, this is the DeKalb County Police Department. You are under arrest. The only way that we can ensure your safety is if you exit the treehouse now.
Now, just at face value, right? Just sheer face value alone, the fact that you have this image of the SWAT team, the Gestapo, stormtroopers, in all of their Call of Duty gear. This is what these tax dollars buy. And they're in the forest taking down domestic terrorists that are sleeping in trees. Right? This is the image, face value alone. What sort of threat do these forest defenders pose to get a SWAT team surrounding them and taking them down on domestic terrorism charges. Help me to understand that, because they are literally protesting using on public land, mind you, using their First Amendment right. Yet they have been arrested. Now, this has been under the works for some time. Brian Kemp, he is a part of this. Of course, this is a major project happening in the capital city, brought to you in part also by Keisha Lance Bottoms, the black mayor, who she's former mayor now. But this came as a result of the backlash. This is what Americans got in response to the George Floyd protests, when we were asking for police to be defunded because, quite frankly, their budgets are obscenely overinflated. But instead of even auditing the police, not only did they not defund the police, they not only didn't audit the police, they gave the police even more. And this cop city, where 6 protesters have been arrested on domestic terrorism charges, is a result of the Give Me, the pacifier that was given out to police all across the country. Take a listen to Brother Kamal Franklin of Community Movement Builders as he spoke about this on Democracy Now!
So we think these charges are setting up really the idea of criminalizing dissent around Cop City. So far, these activists have been denied bail. There's a second bail hearing that is coming up. But because of the outrageous charges, the very generalized charge of domestic terrorism under Georgia law.
And that's the part right there, right? We have gone into the stage of decline. We've gone into the stage of American dystopia, where the state is able, the government, on every level, and Kamal is going to talk about this in a moment. I'll play that clip in a moment where he's outlining that this was not just the city of Atlanta involved. It was multiple counties. It was the state. It was the federal level involved, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. There's a lot of people involved in making the opposition, the protest against Cop City, an act of domestic terrorism. I mean, we're literally talking about a nation where we fully know, we are 100% aware of the fact that white men who are of the right-wing persuasion pose the greatest threat to security in the United States of America, period. White supremacy and violence from right-wing domestic terrorism is the greatest threat to this country. And yet we don't get... When have you seen one of these mass shooters charged with domestic terrorism? It's all connected. If they wanted to throw RICO at somebody, they could throw RICO at the entirety of the right-wing movement because of their domestic terrorism. But tree defenders, forest defenders, people who oppose Cop City, they get the charges. Listen to Kamal Franklin outline exactly how many people are involved in this type of operation against people who are trying to defend the forest.
This has been a concerted effort by law enforcement agencies from the city, the Atlanta Police Department, the county, DeKalb Police Department, the state, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. At the federal level, the Homeland Security and FBI have all been involved in a task force which is targeting these organizers and activists on the ground for being opposed to Cop City.
I want you to really think about this for a minute. Whereas we live in a society where this week there's probably going to be a mass shooting, and there is a high probability that that mass shooting is going to literally be linked to right-wing domestic terrorism, right? To right-wing propaganda, to the right-wing media infrastructure. There's a straight line of stochastic terrorism that literally goes from Tucker Carlson on Fox News all the way down to the shootings at Q nightclub and the Pulse nightclub. Pulse nightclub might have predated Tucker. I think Bill O'Reilly was still on, but Fox News was still doing the work. Bill O'Reilly's terrorism got Dr. Tiller, an abortion doctor, clinic provider. Dr. Tiller killed. There is literally a direct line from right-wing media and propaganda to domestic terrorism. But this is where the FBI and the Homeland Security, and of course, you expect this from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. I bet they're a lot like the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations. It's the end of the year, Mississippi. MBI, you're supposed to turn over the video, the body cam footage of the murder of Jaheim McMillan at the hands of Gulfport Police Department. You said it was going to be the end. See, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations is operating in a very similar fashion to the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations. They provide cover for all of the crimes that happen against the people. They provide cover for the policing agencies who kill black people. And now Georgia Bureau of Investigations is providing cover for these corporations, for these developers, everyone who's waiting in line to get that $90 million from the state, from the city of Atlanta, in order to build a new playground for police. A new helicopter pad, because, and a new movie studio. I mean, this place is going to be something amazing. I mean, it's going to be the proverbial Avengers set. I mean, Shadowbox, that's the name of the company. That's the name of the major production studio, Shadowbox Studios. I mean, if you go to their website, it is, I mean, it looks like they do all kinds of stuff, all major types of movie productions. I mean, it looks like the people who are partnering with the cops, just in case you missed that pivot, there is a major Hollywood movie studio, right? Movie makers, major production facilities that are partnering with Cop City, that are going to have a sound stage, a professional sound stage brought to you in part by the blood of black people on the land of indigenous peoples, backed by the Gestapo that has brought a SWAT team to a treehouse. Now, 6 people have been arrested, protesters have been arrested on domestic terrorism charges in a country where right-wing terrorism reigns supreme. But no, this is where the FBI and Homeland Security and the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the good old boys there, this is where they're putting all their energy.
Let this flag stay with you, ladies and gentlemen. This flag is a symbol of our victory. In this war, we stand, we fight, and we will win because we are united. Ukraine, America, and the entire free world.
Again, that is the voice of Volodymyr Zelenskyy last night as he addressed the joint session of Congress, and he presented a Ukrainian battle flag to outgoing Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. I will talk about that a little bit more later. I have to pivot to 2 individuals who were furious. I'm very careful. I need to take a little tangent, if you would forgive me. I'm very careful about who aligns with me and my ideology and who I align with. I'm very particular about who's in the ranks with us, because, when you get people like, Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert on the same side as you might want to slow down a little bit and really reconsider what it is that you believe. Those are just 2 examples. I mean, we could do that all day long. I have some heavy reservations about the fact that Lindsey Graham is actually on the same side as I am in terms of Ukraine. I do understand that he is supporting it because there's not a defense contractor that Lindsey Graham doesn't love. Like, the more money they could pour into the defense contractor, there's no war that Lindsey Graham doesn't get off on. So there's a fundamental difference. But because I saw his speech on Fox News, Lindsey Graham's response, and I guess I might as well play it here for you. It kind of made my skin crawl. The fact that I had that guy essentially in the same camp as I am when it comes to opposition to Vladimir Putin. But I really wonder if anybody else slows down enough to really consider who's in your camp. Because I really have found that the coalition that is committed to ensuring that Ukraine cannot mount a defense, right? That's the baseline. And I'm going straight to Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, because they were 38 hot last night. They couldn't clap, they couldn't stand. And listen, a lot of this Ukraine is where a lot of us split and part ways. I have some friends we ride together, like we've protested together. We'll go to the distance together, but we disagree on Ukraine. Now, I'm not going to stop being their friends just because they're wrong. I'm not, because I just fundamentally believe that you cannot look at this with a sober eye and be okay with Vladimir Putin invading another nation using force, and then all of a sudden want to leave Ukraine at the mercy of the imperialist ambitions. Like Vladimir Putin literally said that it is about the Roman Empire, not the USSR. All right. I want to make sure people understand what we're dealing with in Vladimir Putin. And there's this wild coalition of people like Elon Musk, all the way down to Nick Fuentes, all the way around the corner to Matt Gaetz, right? To Jimmy Dore, to the Jackson Hinkles of the world. I know I'm calling out some pretty bottom feeder names, but it's a very some strange bedfellows. But here's what they all have in common. They are all anti-vax. They are all pro-ivermectin. They all pretend to be the very best Christians that could possibly be, which is the strangest things considering Matt Gaetz has credible allegations against him of having sex with minors, right? That whole investigation. But he's, okay, maybe he's a Christian in the order of the priest of the Southern Baptist Church. Or the Mormon Church. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. But here's Matt Gaetz. And this is we'll get back to Russia and Ukraine in the speech of Volodymyr Zelenskyy. But I just want to show you, these are the two. Matt Gaetz was so upset last night. And I just want you to see, this is a type of person who is standing arm in arm with people who are trying to pretend as though that they are principled leftists and anti-war leftists. No, you have common cause with this moron.
Was it really worth standing with Republican governors in Maryland, Ohio, and Arizona who got elected preaching freedom and then pushed lockdowns and mandates on their people? How foolish were they? How foolish were we to tolerate it? In Florida, if you're still wearing a mask, we just assume you're hideous.
Right? So I really want people to take this in. The coalition that opposes Ukraine is made up of anti-vax, anti-mask Neanderthals. Now, does that automatically disqualify? Does that automatically make their arguments null and void? No. But it also makes a lot of sense when you consider that these are the same people asking us, the same people who pretend like COVID-19 is over. The same people who are trying to do everything they can to make sure that you don't wear a mask. They are the same people trying to convince you that the way to peace in Ukraine is by allowing Vladimir Putin to go completely unchallenged in conquering a sovereign nation. Matt Gaetz and this other Neanderthal, Marjorie Taylor Greene, not Marjorie, I mixed them up. They're like wonder twins of stupidity, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. But these are the people who are so furious, and these are the people who have common cause now with former colleagues of mine or comrades of mine, now find themselves in league, in common cause with Christian nationalists like Lauren Boebert.
And we're going to make y'all proud. We're going to make America proud. We are going to weed out the deep state, and that includes the sorry Department of Injustice. We are going to take our country back. We will not relent. We will not retreat. We are moving forward from a place of victory, and we are going to put America first. God bless you.
I mean, why is there such a consistent thread? Why is there such a direct line from the American First ideology of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Donald Trump, and Nick Fuentes directly to support for Vladimir Putin? I mean, if they're really worried about America first, then why are they so worried about Vladimir Putin being able to go into Ukraine unchallenged? Why is there such a deeply rooted connection between the white supremacy in the United States of America and being pro-Putin? Why is there such a deep connection between the anti-vax idiocy, the anti-science know-nothingness, and the direct support for Vladimir Putin's imperialist ambitions in Ukraine? It's almost like there is a pan-reactionary, a global pan-reactionary movement of reactionaries. That's the key word. Of reactionaries, people who are reacting to the potential loss of their power, that want to conserve their place in society, even if that means overthrowing democracy here domestically, even if that means overthrowing a sovereign nation by invading Ukraine. There seems to be a direct line between the supremacy that we deal with here in the United States of America every single day. That there's a correlation. That's the phrase I'm looking for. There's a correlation. And I would argue it is a statistically significant correlation between the anti-vax movement, the white supremacy movement here in the United States, and the supporters of Vladimir Putin. Because over and over again, we are finding that the most racist, the most anti-science, the most pro-COVID people on this planet are in league together in their support of Vladimir Putin's imperialist ambitions in Ukraine. And I'm sorry, if those people were on my side on anything, I'd really have to reflect on why I believed that thing.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I've got to get out of here a little early today, so there's no patrons only portion today. However, there will be an episode tomorrow for patrons. I will be interviewing Kamal Franklin from the Community Movement Builders. I'll be dropping that first for patrons. And then, of course, we'll be spreading that everywhere else. We want to make sure we get the word out. But then Friday night, tomorrow night, we are having a holiday patron party. Patrons only. Patreon.com/the BPD show. This is just our way of thanking our patrons for making this show possible. I want to go back to what's happening in Atlanta and really close out discussing why it is that this partnership, this partnership between the police state, the political institutions, and capitalism, in this specific case, these developers, and Hollywood, by the way, Shadowbox Studios, they are a part of this. This is a very dangerous time in American history. One thing is for certain is without us getting word out about what's happening to these protesters who have been charged with domestic terrorism. I can't overstate. Listen, they are preparing us to accept a totalitarian state. There's no bones about it. And I know it comes off as, Ben, you're fear mongering, or Ben, you might, need to take a step back from the microphone. And trust me, I've taken plenty of hours of contemplation about what's going on and to separate myself from the reality of what's going on here. Because when you look at this in Atlanta, people defending trees have been arrested and without bail on domestic terrorism charges, with the complete and total unification of power between every policing agency from the local level to the federal level. Politicians of every race and every party, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Brian Kemp, Hollywood in the form of this movie studio, and of course the developers, real estate, capitalism. They have unified to the point where they can make these unilateral decisions as giveaways, as handouts. I mean, giving this to the police is so excessively luxurious. They're not getting a movie theater. They're getting a movie studio where they'll be able to film movies as cops. It is so absurd what we are forced to give this police state in order to keep their silence, in order to keep the cops from rioting. It is so obscene. We are literally underneath the control of a protection racket. Give us your money or else we're going to riot. This is what the police have done, and now the politicians are fine with it. They've always been fine with it. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter what blue or red. In every single state, in every single city, the governors and the mayors know that this budget is going overwhelmingly to the police, and they don't even need it. Schools are closing. Libraries are being defunded. Teachers have to, run copies of textbooks because the textbooks are falling apart. But yes, please, let's make sure that the police get a movie theater. Make sure that the police get a movie studio. And if anybody gathers and organizes to protest it, we charge them with domestic terrorism. Folks, what we are up against here is something that I think may slip by a lot of people's radars because, well, there's so many egregious stories like this. And we're so inundated with attack after attack after attack after attack that it's almost impossible to see the connecting strands between all of them. But all of this is part and parcel of a system that is gearing itself up to be able to force and compel us into whatever it is, whoever gets the power. I mean, this is a system that is prepared to use the force of law to execute whatever the whims of the totalitarian dictator. I mean, whoever it is, Ron DeSantis. I mean, if you look at Ron DeSantis' past, I was talking with Lance from the Surfs last night. I didn't realize that Ron DeSantis, actively participated in torture as the good guy, sitting at the table, talking to someone as an attorney, as the good guy in the torture that took place against detainees. That's Ron DeSantis. And we're dealing with a police state that is unified through technology, along with standing agreements, that they will compel every penny. They will force every penny out of the city and state and national budgets as they possibly can. And anyone who stands against anything, even something as excessive as Cop City in Atlanta, can be arrested on domestic terrorism charges. Now, what about when we go back out to protest for Black life? What about when we go out to protest and strike for better wages? They are gearing up to crush all dissent. And this is why I think we need to bring special attention to what's going on at Cop City in Atlanta. Solidarity. Go to communitymovementbuilders.org to find out how you can help these protesters. We'll talk again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.